It starts with an envelope, no return address, slid under your apartment door at 6:47 a.m. on a Tuesday. Inside is a name, a date, and a number with 6 zeros. No instructions, no explanation, just a post-it with 4 words, "Be at the meeting." You go. The room is a conference suite on the 34th floor of a building with no signage in the lobby. 8 people, tailored suits, no phones on the table, water, no ice. One man does all the talking. He never introduces himself. He says you came recommended. He says the work isn't complicated, but it requires discretion, absolute discretion. You don't ask what the work is. You already understand that asking is the wrong move. You nod. He nods back. That's the interview. On the way home, you tell yourself this is just political consulting, research. You've worked on 3 Senate campaigns. You know how the machine runs. This is just another gear. That night, you watch your balance hit $87,000. You sit with it for 10 seconds. Then you close the app and go to sleep. You sleep fine. That surprises you later. 6 weeks in and you understand the first rule. You are never the only one in the conversation, even when you think you are. Your job, officially, is data analysis. You sit in a small office in a building registered to a Shell LLC. You have 3 monitors and access to databases that shouldn't exist. Purchasing histories cross-referenced with voter rolls, medical proxies, financial stress indicators. You realize the truth. In a country of 330 million, the entire presidency rests on moving just 76,000 specific people across 3 Rust Belt states. You build profiles on them. You learn to see a zip code not as a place, but as a set of levers. The man with no name, you've started calling him Gray, calls once a week. He gives you a county, you give him a breakdown. Who's persuadable, who's locked in, and who's angry enough to move. You don't ask what happens after you send the file, but a local news story runs 3 days later. A hospital closes. A scandal surfaces. You clear $40,000 in your 3rd week. None of it touches your name. It moves through a digital services contract in Delaware. You feel useful. That's the feeling they're selling. You meet Marcus at a fundraiser you weren't supposed to attend. He shakes your hand and says, quietly, "Gray told me you're good." Marcus runs a pipeline. Money in from sources you'll never see, money out to people who don't file paperwork. He explains the structure like a contractor explains a building. Not what it's for, just how it stands. You start feeding data directly to his team. The files get bigger. Not just who's persuadable, but who's persuadable under pressure, owes a favor to someone Gray knows. The 3rd rule, loyalty here isn't emotional, it's structural. You stay because leaving would mean explaining things you can't explain. You're making $180,000 a year through 4 different contracts. Your LinkedIn says you advise public affairs clients. You believe this, most days. They bring you a candidate, not to meet, to shape. His name is Daniel Reyes. Good face for cameras, moderate enough to win, ambitious enough to be managed. Your job is to find the gap between who he is and who the district needs him to be, then close it. You spend 3 months engineering his public identity. You find the stories from his past that confirm the narrative, and you surface them. You suppress the stories that complicate it. You don't delete anything, you just change what's easy to find. He wins the primary by 11 points. At the watch party, he believes genuinely that this is his moment. You watch from the back of the room and feel authorship, the cold kind of satisfaction. The 4th rule, the candidates are instruments. You don't hate them, you tune them. Reyes goes to Washington. On his 5th key vote, he tries to break. Gray calls you at 11 p.m. He just says, handle it. You handle it. You don't sleep as well that week, but you sleep. Gray introduces you to 3 people in a private dining room in a city you're not allowed to name in text messages. They don't have titles, they have reach. One controls media distribution, one manages county-level operatives, one processes 9 figures annually through a legal foundation. You are the data layer. Together, you are an ecosystem. The money moves through shells, the decisions move through conversations that never get recorded. You understand now that an election is not a single event. It's a surface. Underneath it is years of groundwork, judicial appointments that control redistricting, and maps that predetermine outcomes before a vote is cast. The fifth rule: visible power is weak. The strongest position is one that looks like nothing. You are a ghost with access to everything. You are 38. You have $2.4 million spread across structures your accountant has never seen. A senator calls you directly, not through a cutout. His voice is tight. A journalist has documents that would end 3 careers. He's calling you because you make problems disappear. You spend 72 hours working the problem. You locate the journalist's source. The source has a professional licensing issue and 2 misdemeanor charges from 2009 that were supposed to be expunged, but miraculously weren't. You don't threaten anyone, you just surface the information to the right person. The story doesn't run. The senator calls back. He says thank you. His voice is different now, grateful in the specific way that people are grateful when they know they owe something permanent. The sixth rule: leverage is about obligation. Need is a longer leash than fear. Gray calls you at 2:13 a.m. and says it's time. There's a presidential primary. One candidate, if elected, would restructure the regulatory environment for 4 industries your network depends on. He can't win. Not because he's unelectable, but because he can't win. You spend 8 months orchestrating the largest invisible intervention you've ever run. Media saturation in 23 markets, a third-party candidate who doesn't know his funding and digital strategy are products of your architecture. He thinks he's a movement. He's a mechanism. The candidate you needed to stop doesn't get the nomination. He gives a speech about the integrity of the process. You watch it on a monitor with the sound off. The seventh rule: you are not making choices. You are executing designs drawn up years before. The decisions feel like yours. They stopped being yours a long time ago. You don't go to the inauguration. You watch it in a house registered to an LLC. The president gives a speech about the will of the people. He believes it. The process is real. And also, you have existed inside it for 21 years, shaping the ground it walks on. You are 53. You are the water level. Nobody talks about the water level, they talk about the ships. Gray is dead. The network didn't miss a beat. It doesn't need people, it needs architecture. The eighth rule: the system doesn't protect you because you're valuable. It protects you because dismantling you would be too expensive. The moment that flips, you are gone. Somewhere, a young analyst just got a job at a political data firm. Tonight she'll send her first report. She's good. She sees patterns. She thinks this is just research. She thinks there are lines she would never cross. She'll sleep fine. That will surprise her later. She doesn't know what's coming, but she will.